All right, before we start these breakdowns, I just want to say fuck the noise, fuck the haters. People are always going to have something to say, so might as well be yourself. I felt like I was trying to take certain qualities from different YouTubers, kind of blend and mesh it into my content. But at the end of the day, I love MMA. I love fighting. I love talking about fighting. And I'm lucky enough to have a platform. So I'm just going to be myself, have fun, enjoy the process, and start a new chapter in this channel, revamp my content, and hopefully along the way I get a few viewers here and there, but I just love doing this. And at the end of the day, I think that's enough for me, and I'm going to be more than happy, if a few people tune in and like the content. But I'm just excited for this, and I'm excited for this fight. So that is a great segue. I'm here to talk to you guys about UFC 326, Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. I've been waiting for this fight ever since it got announced. These are two legends, both future Hall of Famers, facing off for the BMF belt. So I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and predictions, starting with the early prelims all the way to the main event. And yeah, let's just dive in, man. I'm happy to be here and excited for this new chapter. So starting with the first fight on the card, we got Luke Fernandez versus Rodolfo Bellato. I think this is a great fight to open up this fight card. And Luke Fernandez, this dude is a undefeated prospect at 6-0. Orthodox striker with some grappling. I believe he does have explosive power. He is on that undefeated streak. I think the only knock to him is his inexperience. He only has 6 fights, and they're not against like high level competition guys. So, I have seen him on the regional scene. This, he is debuting, and I think he mixes up well. He's good on the feet. And if he needs to, he will go to the wrestling/grappling. His fight against Christian Payne Edwards, I saw a lot of that fight took place against the cage, but he worked on taking him down. And when he took him down, Edwards did work his way back up to his feet. But Luke Fernandez never got tired, kept working those takedowns, and ultimately got a decision win over Christian Edwards. He's fighting a guy in Rodolfo Bellato. This guy is an orthodox striker with some solid takedowns. He's more on the judo side. He does have a judo background. So more sweeps, or at least I've seen sweeps from him in his prior fights. This dude will have a size advantage going into this fight against Luke Fernandez. I don't want to say Luke Fernandez is undersized for light heavyweight, but Rodolfo Bellato will definitely be the bigger guy when they get into the octagon. And Rodolfo does have some pretty sneaky submissions. His weaknesses, though, I think he just absorbs too much strikes. He doesn't have the best striking defense, and his form has been okay recently. He is 1-2 in the UFC, and he is coming off a loss. So I'm going to go with my guy, Luke Fernandez, to get the win here against Rodolfo Bellato. I just think Luke Fernandez has more ways to win. He does have fast hands and decent striking, where he'll be able to land on Rodolfo Bellato. I think his best path is probably wearing down Rodolfo, kind of mix in the takedowns or the threat of the takedowns, work some clinching against the cage, and ultimately get a late stoppage over Rodolfo Bellato. So give me Luke Fernandez to open up this fight card. And then we got Jeong Lee versus Gaston Bolanos. Jeong Lee, this dude is a balanced southpaw with pretty good volume. I think he's well-rounded. I know we've seen a lot of his work on the feet, but this dude is like a national wrestling. He's done like national wrestling for South Korea. I don't know at like what level, but he does have the grappling. He's pretty good in the striking, and he's fighting a guy in Gaston Bolanos who's basically just a Muay Thai striker. This dude should have just went to one and competed in Muay Thai, because this dude has no ground game whatsoever. he either gets taken down, and no, he just gets taken down. If guys shoot, they will get the takedown on this dude. Yeah, Gaston Bolanos definitely needs to work that ground game. He's one of the guys that, needs to go to Dagestan or Georgia to train, because if this dude had a ground game, this dude would be a problem, because he does have knockout power. He has high volume kicks, and, he mixes his striking well. But recently, he is 2-2 in the UFC, and so is Jeong Lee, who is 2-2. But I just see Jeong Lee being the bigger guy here, because Gaston Bolanos is coming up from bantamweight to featherweight. Jeong Lee is massive. He looks like a lightweight to me. He is 5'10", and has good size on him. So he is definitely going to have the size advantage here against Gaston Bolanos. He's going to have the reach edge. He has cardio. He's been to decisions before. The only knock on Jeong Lee is that chin. It has been tested before. And if Gaston lands clean, he could definitely rock Lee in this fight. So I think his best path to victory is to mix in the takedowns, mix in the wrestling, wear down Gaston Bolanos, maybe get a finish, a TKO, ground and pound, or win it on the judges' scorecard, which I think is the most likely outcome. But give me Lee in this fight. Then we got Rafael Tobias versus Diyar Nurgozhay. Rafael Tobias, unlike Gaston Bolanos, who is just a striker, Rafael Tobias is just a grappler. This dude is grappling first. He is going to look to take the fight down to the mat or the octagon, whatever you want to call it, the ground. He's going to look to take the fight down to the ground and threaten with submissions. He's fighting Diyar Nurgozhay, who I have seen fight before. And don't quote me on this, but I don't know if he has a little bit of the tism. I honestly, I think it's probably just a tick. He's always like swiping his nose during his fights. But this dude is he is a well-rounded striker. He does have good kicks. He does counter strike more than anything. But he has good defensive wrestling. He has good takedown defense. And in this fight, he's gonna need that against a guy like Rafael Tobias. I'm going to go with the side of Diyar Nurgozhay here. I think he lands on Tobias and ultimately gets him out. I think that if Tobias doesn't get the takedown, or at least doesn't get it early, he's going to be in a world of problem. He's going to regret not working on that striking before in this past. So give me Nurgozhay to get a finish in this fight. I want to say early KO, but who knows? It might go into the second round, but I'm gonna go with the dog here because I believe Rafael Tobias is the favorite in this one. Let me just double check that. Yeah, he is the favorite going into this fight against Nurgozhay. And Nurgozhay, I did watch one of his fights because I think he is coming off. Yeah. He does have 2 L's. He lost to Brenson Ribeiro, which he kind of looked decent in, I will say. And then lost to Sally Baldiev. I think he goes in here and gets his first win, honestly, in the UFC. Because I'm not going to count that win on the Contender Series. But give me Nurgozhay here. Early finish against Rafael Tobias. Then we got Sumudaerji versus Jesus Aguilar. This is the fight I've been on the fence on, like, crazy. I was on Sumudaerji, then Jesus Aguilar, but now I'm back on Sumudaerji, and I'm gonna lock it in. You always got to go with your first option. Sumudaerji, this dude is big for this division. He is 5'8". He's definitely gonna have a reach advantage here against Jesus Aguilar. He is a southpaw volume striker. He has cardio, and his only real weakness is which is honestly the only way that Jesus Aguilar is going to win this fight is probably by submission. But aside from that, I think he's going to outstrike Jesus Aguilar on the feet. He has the reach advantage. Jesus Aguilar, he is an aggressive grappler. He's more of a grittier fighter. But the thing is, we're not fighting in Mexico. I think Jesus Aguilar might be able to get Sumudaerji down to the ground, but I think Sumudaerji is going to use those limbs well, either to threaten with submissions or work his way back up to his feet. He's going to land more significant strikes, probably land a little bit more damage than Jesus Aguilar. I feel like Jesus, if he does take down Sumudaerji, it's going to be more control than damage. So, you know, in Vegas, they definitely favor the damage and significant strikes over control time or ground control time. So give me Sumudaerji to get this one done over Jesus Aguilar. All right, and then moving up the card, we got Cody Durden versus Nyamjargal. I totally fucked that up. Nyamjargal, Tumendemberel. I'm going to go with Cody Durden here. I like Cody Durden. This dude is a UFC vet, you know, southpaw wrestler. He puts on a grinding pace. He'll definitely go out there, move forward, pressure. His only real weakness is he's not the best in the striking department, but enough to set up the takedowns and the wrestling. He's fighting a guy in Nyam. I'm going to just say Nyam. This dude is well balanced. I think he does go out there and looks for the finishes. He does have finishes both on the feet and by submission. I think his submissions are underrated. This dude could definitely go out there, possibly get a submission win, but his only real weakness is his experience gap. I think Cody Durden, being a vet in the UFC, having so many different looks, I think he'll be fine in this fight. So I'm going to go with Cody Durden to get it done over Nyam. And then we got Ricky Turcios versus Alberto Montes. Before this fight, I didn't even know who Alberto Montes was. And then before looking at the tape, I was like, yeah, Ricky should get this one done. But Alberto Montes is definitely a guy to keep on your radar. Potentially a prospect. This dude has good striking, and he's mainly known for his submissions. He is on a 3 submission fight win. I totally fucked that up. I think he's on a 3 submission win fight. I don't know, streak. But this dude's good. This dude, he has a nasty anaconda choke, and on the feet, he has good striking. You know, he does land cleanly. At least in that fight in the Contender Series, you know, it was a back and forth fight, very entertaining fight. Ultimately, he ended up getting that guy out of there. He's fighting a guy in Ricky Turcios, who is more of a volume striker. He doesn't really have power in those hands, but you know, he does put on the pace as well. He's like decent everywhere. He's not like great at anything. He's just, you know, he's just there. But I think really what sets Ricky apart from those other guys is, you know, he's got that dog in him. He'll go out there and grind his way to a win. But I don't think that's going to be enough here against a guy like Alberto Montes. Montes is very skillful, very technical, very talented fighter. And ultimately, I see him getting a win here against Ricky Turcios. I don't know if he puts Ricky Turcios out, because Ricky has shown that he is durable. I think he'll stay safe if it hits the ground, but I think Alberto Montes is just going to be on the offense for most of the fight, where Ricky is probably going to be defending or, you know, trying to land but not landing cleanly, and just not looking the part in the fight. So give me Alberto Montes to get it done over Ricky Turcios. Then we got Donte Johnson versus Cody Brundage. This is probably my most confident pick of the card in Donte Johnson. This dude is an elite grappler who carries power in his hands. I know he's only like 5'8" for middleweight, but this dude's big. He's pretty wide, and he's fought at like heavyweight. I think he knocked out a guy at heavyweight, which is crazy. He's fighting Cody Brundage, who's coming in on short notice. He just fought, I believe, like a month ago out in Australia and got his ass beat by Cam Rouston. I think this is an early finish by Donte Johnson. I think Cody Brundage, we've seen him get defeated before. You know, he kind of gives up during the fights. He doesn't listen to his coaches. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen here. He definitely has low fight IQ. And Donte Johnson is just going to land something of consequence. Cody's just going to cover up. And Donte Johnson is probably just going to, you know, throw a few and then have the ref come in and stop the fight. So give me Donte Johnson here over Cody Brundage. Then we got Cody Garbrandt, Cody No Love versus Xiao Long. Cody, man, I've been following this guy ever since back to his prime, back when this dude gave us one of the best performances in UFC history against Dominic Cruz. I love that beef he had with TJ Dillashaw. It really made things a little bit more exciting. But if you go back and watch that fight against Dominic Cruz, this dude was literally in the Matrix during that fight. This dude has fast hands. You know, he does have power. We have seen him knock out guys at bantamweight. His only weakness, bro, is that chin. If he didn't have a chin problem, Cody would be one of the greats. But unfortunately, that chin has been cracked. That chin has been tested. And thankfully, he's not fighting a power puncher. Xiaolong, this guy is also more of a volume striker. He's going to go and look to put on the pace and just, you know, land more than the opponent. But ultimately, I really don't see anything out of Xiaolong. He is 27-10. He has had a lot of fights. So he really only has good output. But in terms of weaknesses, his defense, and I think this is a perfect fight for Cody Garbrandt. You know, those fast hands, I think he'll be able to connect cleanly on Xiaolong, you know, rack up significant strikes, and ultimately just get a win here against a guy in Xiaolong, which honestly, if he loses this, I'm riding with Garbrandt until the wheels fall off, but this is literally where the wheels will fall off if he loses this fight, because Xiaolong, I also didn't know about this guy up until this fight. So I had to go back, do some research on him. But Cody Garbrandt, man, he's 34, but he's a lot older in fight years. I will say that he's like 40, 45 in fight years. But he should get the job done here, because if he doesn't, I think he should just part ways with the UFC at this point. You're losing to a guy like Xiaolong on the prelims. Go get yourself a nice boxing match, or what is it? Maybe do bare knuckle. But if you know, go get your money up in the boxing expedition match. Crazy. My brain is literally fogging up. But go get yourself an exhibition match in boxing, man. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Cody Garbrandt here. I think he can get it done against a guy like Xiaolong. But if not, peace out, Cody. But give me Cody there, and then we go up into the main card. We got Gregory Rodrigues versus Bruno Ferreira in the rematch. I'm going to go with Gregory Rodrigues in the rematch. I like Gregory. I think he's improved a lot since their first fight. He's definitely fought some high-level competition, and he is a well-rounded fighter. I think he brings a high volume and power, where Bruno Ferreira is mainly like power focus. And he definitely took a lot out of that first fight. And he's going to go in here knowing that Bruno Ferreira can put him out if he lands cleanly. So I think Gregory Rodrigues is going to be defensively sound. I think it would be smart for him to mix up the grappling, look for takedowns, look for clinching, wear on Bruno Ferreira, and possibly get a late stoppage in this fight. So give me Gregory Rodrigues to get it done in the rematch against Bruno Ferreira. Then moving up the card, we got Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. The battle of the OGs. And yeah, Drew Dober is definitely an OG. He's 28-15. That's an insane record against a guy who's 25-19. But I'm gonna go with Michael Johnson. I like Michael Johnson's form recently, and I think that win against Daniel Zellhuber, although it hasn't aged that nicely because Bobby Green beat him, I still think that was a very impressive performance for Michael Johnson. I think he's kind of changed up his game in his later years. I think he's definitely more defensively sound. He has good boxing, good speed. I think he'll have the speed advantage here against Drew Dober. Drew Dober is definitely going to have probably the power edge, but as long as Drew Dober doesn't land anything of consequence, I think Michael Johnson is just going to piece up Drew Dober on the feet, land more than him, be a little quicker, be 1 or 2 steps ahead of him, and ultimately get a decision win here. So I like that Michael Johnson has improved his striking, at least in his later years. I know he's been knocked out a couple times, but I'm gonna take a shot at I'm gonna take a shot with Michael Johnson, because we have seen one of Drew Dober's weaknesses be his durability. I feel like the longer the fight goes, the worse that he gets. So and on the contrary, I think the longer the fight goes, I think the better Michael Johnson is going to look. So give me Michael Johnson here to get it done over Drew Dober. All right, and then we move up to Rob Font versus Raul Rosas Jr. Rob Font, this dude is a volume. This dude's primarily a boxer. That's it. Like, this dude is a boxer, volume striker. He does have good accuracy with those hands. Just his weaknesses is that takedown defense, man. That New England cartel team needs to bring in Craig Jones or some elite grapplers and just have them grapple for like 6 months to a year. Because I think that is really their only weakness at that gym, like the main weakness. Because on the feet, all those guys have good hands, and Rob Font has shown that he has a solid boxing for this division. He's fighting a guy in Raul Rosas Jr. who, on the contrary, is primarily a grappler. And he's going to look to take the fight down to the ground and threaten and look for submissions, man. I do like that Rob Font is training at TriStar now with one of the greatest minds in MMA in Faraz Sahabi. I think that is going to do him well for this fight. I think they're definitely just working takedowns. I think that's it. I think he's going there, and literally their whole camp is like, all right, Raul Rosas does not have good striking. What is he going to do? Try to take you down. What do you got to do? You got to defend those takedowns. And as long as he keeps it on the feet, he's got a chance. Not even a chance. He's going to win this fight. If this fight doesn't hit the ground, Rob Font will win this fight. But I do think it will hit the ground. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Rob Font might defend 1 or 2 takedowns, but I think Raul Rosas just spams takedowns until he gets one. And once he does, I think he's going to be able to control Rob Font on the ground, build up control time, maybe get some damage off, threaten with the submissions, and ultimately get a decision win over Rob Font. So give me Raul Rosas Jr. to get it done. And then we got the co-main event. We got Caio Borralho versus Reinier de Ridder. Caio Borralho, this dude is a well-rounded fighter, man. This dude is good in striking. He has good submissions, good ground game. I think the only thing maybe he lacks is a little bit better in the takedown department. But aside from that, this dude also has a chin. You know, he's durable, very versatile, and has cardio. All good things. Reinier de Ridder on the side has no cardio. No, I'm kidding. But Reinier de Ridder, this dude is just, a grappler. He is a former one champion, but primarily a grappler is going to look to get the fight down to the ground and look for a submission. And the fact that Caio is so well-rounded, he'll be able to defend the takedowns, in my opinion. And even if it hits the ground, I think he is defensively responsible to not get submitted by RDR. And if anything, work his way back up to his feet. So on the feet, he's definitely going to piece up RDR. I haven't really seen great striking from RDR. And I think Caio Borralho wins this one. So give me Caio Borralho to get it done over Reinier de Ridder. And then moving up to the main event, we got Max Blessed Holloway versus Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. I'm a little biased here. I'm going to be honest. I love Charles Oliveira. This dude is like top 3 favorite fighters, although Max is like top 5 for me. So not in any order. I think top 3 are Charles Oliveira, Ilya Topuria, GSP, and then 4 would probably be Anderson Silva, 5 Max Holloway, and to round out the top 10, I think 6 probably be Conor McGregor, Alex Pereira, Demetrius Johnson, Izzy, and Alexander Volkanovski. So that'd probably be my top 10. But yeah, man, Charles just has a special place in my heart, man. This dude is like as genuine as it gets. This guy is someone that a lot of people should look up to, man. This dude is true to himself. He's always been himself, and he is one of the most beloved people in the UFC. And he doesn't even speak English, which is insane. He never had to learn English, and is still literally one of the most loved UFC fighters, I believe, of all time, to be honest. But I want to give Max Holloway his flowers too. Max Holloway, legend of the sport as well. This dude has had some crazy fights and put on performances for the people. He's been champ before. He is the BMF belt holder now. And I think this is just going to be an amazing fight, man. Both of these guys have not been in boring fights. More so Charles Oliveira. This dude has literally the UFC all-time record for submission and finishes, where Max Holloway is the UFC all-time leader in significant strikes. Both of these guys are future Hall of Famers, man. But breaking down the fight, Charles Oliveira has that Muay Thai striker stance, and he has some of the best grappling in the UFC, and he's fighting Max Holloway, who is primarily a volume striker. I think one of his strengths is that cardio. He has great cardio. And as you know, him being the UFC all-time leader in significant strikes, his boxing, his striking is really good. His only knock is maybe his grappling. He's definitely improved his grappling defense, takedown defense, and haven't really seen him do too much on the ground. If it was for him, all his fights would be on the feet. Where Charles Oliveira is a submission specialist. If this any fight hits the ground with Charles Oliveira, you better be 100% prepared for it, because this dude is going to chase the submission. If he gets your back, you're fucked. Like, might as well at that point just end the fight, because Charles Oliveira on your back, this dude is not giving that up unless the bell rings. But Charles Oliveira, we have seen him get so many submission wins in the UFC. His striking is decent. His striking defense is not that great. He has been rocked a couple times in his career. He has been knocked down. I think that's the only wrinkle in his cap. But aside from that, he thrives in chaos, and he's given us so many great performances over his career. But this is a classic case of the striker versus grappler. And I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira here, man. I'm going to go with the dog. I think this is a great dog opportunity for Charles Oliveira, but I also think this is a great favorite for Max Holloway, you can make the case for both guys. I'm just thinking with my head and my heart too when it comes to Charles Oliveira. I've been following this guy ever since he actually fought Max Holloway in featherweight and ended up I think it was something in the shoulder where they had to stop the fight. But Charles Oliveira has grown to a legend since that fight. Being UFC lightweight champion, going on that historic run where he beat Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. One of the best runs, I think, in the UFC. And even then, losing to Islam, getting knocked out by Ilia Topuria, and then coming back and getting a win in Brazil against a guy like Gamrot. He's battled so much adversity, and I think that's one thing that people love, is that Charles Oliveira just never gives up. I think fighters who battle adversity always end up stronger, and guys like Charles Oliveira learn from it. And that's kind of why I'm also leaning here. Honestly, I'm going with Charles because of the grappling edge he holds in this fight. I know Max Holloway does have the striking advantage here, and if this fight just stays primarily on the feet, I think Max Holloway will outland him, probably have a lot more output than Charles Oliveira. But give me Charles Oliveira to get it done in the main event, and new BMF champ Charles "Du Bronx" Oliveira. All right, with that being said, recapping all my predictions and picks, Luke Fernandez to get it done over Rodolfo Bellato. I'm going to go with like late stoppage by Luke Fernandez. Jeong Lee versus Gaston Bolanos. Give me Jeong Lee to get it done by decision. Give me Diyar Nurgozhay by KO. Sumudaerji to get it done by decision. Cody Durden to win over I'm going to stop there because I was going to try to say the whole name, but give me Cody Durden, probably via decision. Alberto Montes to get it done over Ricky Turcios. Donte Johnson, early finish against Cody Brundage, first round KO. Cody Garbrandt to get it done over Zhao Long. I think he wins a decision, but it would be awesome to see Cody Garbrandt get a knockout here. Gregory Rodrigues to get a win over Brunno Ferreira. Michael Johnson via decision. This fight can actually be pretty close. I don't know how good that takedown defense has gotten by Rafael at TriStar, but give me Raul Rosas Jr. to get it done. And then Caio Borralho to get the win over RDR. And then in the main event, I'm going to go with my guy Charles Dubronx Oliveira. And those are my official picks for this card. And I know at the end of the videos, I usually tell you guys, please, like, subscribe, comment, whatever. But I think I'm going to do a little something a little bit different going forward. And who knows, maybe it becomes a podcast or a channel. But I'm going to spit some wisdom, calling it Spittin Wisdom. And I know I touched upon at the end Charles Oliveira battling adversity. I do think that makes not just fighters, but people, better humans. It ultimately levels you up. I was trying to look for the right word to say it, but I think the path less traveled by, or the path that is going to have more hardships, is going to have more obstacles, is ultimately going to be the better path than the one that, for example, in fighting, fighters who go on and debut without losing a fight, or go on to get it kind of easy in the UFC or whatever promotion it might be. Once you fight a guy who's kind of fought adversity, has had those tough matches, that dude is going to walk over that guy any day of the week. Obviously, it depends how talented they are, because, we do have guys like Ilia Topuria who are undefeated. But, man, Charles Oliveira, his story, his background, coming from nothing, from the favelas, becoming UFC lightweight champ, and battling through a lot of, I think it was medical complications, where the doctors told him he would never walk or be able to do sports again. It's just a true testament to his character. And I think a lot of people nowadays really don't face adversity. I feel like people get a lot comfortable in life and don't really put themselves in uncomfortable situations. And I think that really is what helps people grow, become better human beings. And something as simple or as easy as just signing up for a jiu-jitsu class or Muay Thai or boxing or whatever martial art it may be, it might be uncomfortable in the beginning, but it's going to do more than just, give you self-defense or a workout. I think there is a mental component to it, and ultimately putting yourself in those stressful, hard situations really makes you see life in a different perspective, and also gives you that mental fortitude to continue doing hard things and put yourself in difficult situations and be able to work through obstacles and hardships and what be it. So that's my spin wisdom. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you guys tune in for the next video. I hope this card, I know this fight's going to deliver. Holloway versus Oliveira is 1000% going to deliver. I hope this whole UFC fight card delivers. I appreciate you guys being here. Much love, and I'll see you guys in the next one.